It's important at this point in your study of the sciences to recognize the connection between the different fields of science. It's easy to imagine a biologist studying the different colors of leaves during the fall as they change. But how is chemistry an integral part of the changing of the colors of the leaves? And you can even go as far as to look at physics. How does physics related to the study of leaves and their colors? Looking more closely at the leaf, and this is the green leaf in particular, we can start to see the different structural components of the leaf. If we keep going closer yet, we start to see again, the different structural parts of the leaf, probably things that you've seen under a microscope either in middle school or in pictures. We go in further, closer still, and we can see the different cells of the leaf. Keep going in further yet, we can start to potentially see the different structural components of the cell. Eventually, if we go in far enough, we're going to get down to the actual molecules that make up the cell. So on the board here in front of you, you can see the chemical makeup of chlorophyll. On the left, you see the letters that represent the atoms of the elements that make up the chlorophyll. And on the right, you see what's called a space-filling model that depicts the atoms in different colors based on the identity of the atom in more of a blown up or cloud-like manner. Here again we have on the left chlorophyll, and on the right another substance that may be familiar to us, Heme, which is one of the components of hemoglobin in blood that helps carry oxygen around to different parts of your body. If you look at those two structures, you see a remarkable similarity between the two. It turns out that the changing of colors of the leaf isn't so much a matter of something being produced that makes that leaf change color. It actually is a decomposition of the chlorophyll that's in the leaf. The chlorophyll is going to absorb colors other than green, which means that when light hits the leaf, the chlorophyll is going to absorb those other colors, those reds and the blues, the yellows, oranges, and it's going to reflect off the green color. So that's why we see the green leaf. Now, in the fall time, this chlorophyll molecule that you see here on the left is going to break apart. It's going to decompose. The process by which this happens is very interesting. Here's a picture of a protein that occurs in leaves that participates in the breaking down of the chlorophyll. I'm not sure exactly how well you can see this on the video, but I can turn this around and maybe you can get kind of an image at the part, kind of in the middle of the upper part of this structure is part of that chlorophyll molecule that's getting broken down. What you see in the yellow and these ribbon-like structures represent the atoms in the protein that help break this down. We can turn around so we can take a look at that from different angles. We can also change the way this looks. So here I've changed it from the ribbons to actual atoms and sticks to represent bonds. And again, I'm not sure exactly how well you can see this, but again, that part in the middle there is the remnants of the chlorophyll molecules being broken apart. Here's a ball and stick model that has all the carbons represented as gray dots, the nitrogens as blue dots, and the oxygens as red dots, yellow dots as the phosphorus. So you can see it's a rather complex structure that its only function in this leaf is to break down that chlorophyll molecule. This picture might give you a better impression of what's going on here. It's a space-filling molecule, so you can see that instead of ball and stick, you've got a larger sphere that represents all the electrons involved in that atom. And again, right there in the middle, in the top part, you can see a little gap in there where the part of the chlorophyll molecule has been added, and then that's, again, this protein is going to break that down. So you can see the complexity that's involved in changing this chlorophyll or breaking this chlorophyll molecule down. So how does breaking that chlorophyll molecule down end up changing the color of the leaf? Well, those other chemicals that create the other color in the leaves are always present. However, there's so much of the chlorophyll that dominates the color. As the chlorophyll starts getting broken down and decomposed, the other colors start to come through until eventually you get to the yellows and the reds and the oranges and all the different colors that those leaves can become. Now, I'm not sure of the exact process by which it happens, but I imagine that decomposition then continues on after the chlorophyll is gone and eventually breaks down the molecules in the leaf cells enough that the leaf ends up dying. And then the cycle of growth in the tree will begin again. The main takeaway from all of this is that to understand what's going on with that leaf from a biological sense requires an understanding of the matter that makes up the different components of the leaf. And that matter, when we boil that matter down, it comes down to the elements and the compounds that make it up. And the study of those things, the study of matter, is chemistry. So let's take a look at how we classify matter. So if I put all matter at the top here, so matter is going to be anything that has mass and takes up space. So there's our kind of word definition of it. What does that mean? Well, pretty much everything around us has mass and takes up space. Air has mass and takes up space. Water, obviously your chair that you're sitting on, the soda can that you're drinking out of, all those things have mass and take up space. So the study of that matter, so what wouldn't be matter? Well, energy is not matter. And chemistry is going to be the study of that matter. How does that matter, what are the properties of that matter? How does it change if you, react different forms of matter together? How does it change as a reaction to energy being added or removed to the matter? So let's take a look at how we would break this down. So matter can be broken down into samples that are heterogeneous and heterogeneous samples of matter are mixtures where you can look at it and visibly tell that there's a multiple of different types of substances together. So for instance, if you looked at Italian salad dressing, you could see little specks of different herbs and spices. You could see a layer inside there that was aqueous, that contained water. You could see a layer inside there that was oil, that did not mix well with the water. So you would be able to visibly tell that there were different substances present. We can also have samples of matter that look homogeneous. When we look at it, it appears to be basically uniform in composition. We don't see any visibly distinct parts present. So for instance, if you look at a glass of water or a glass of milk, if you look at perhaps some vanilla ice cream that didn't have any vanilla beans or anything in it, those might all look homogeneous, like one physically distinct part with composition that's uniform throughout. Now, samples that are homogeneous can either be solutions or pure substances. Well, solutions are things like your soda pop. So if you look at your soda pop, it's uniform composition, but it's not one thing. It's a mixture of different things present in it. Same thing with like if you mix salt and water, that would be a solution containing both water and salt. Pure substances can be broken down into compounds and elements. So for instance, the sodium chloride is a compound made by combining atoms of sodium, the element sodium, with atoms of the element chlorine. So that would be a compound. And the elements, as I mentioned, that make up that would be sodium and chlorine. So this is our kind of classification of matter, looking down at it. What we need to do, or what we need to start with, is taking a look at those smallest parts of matter in a compound or in an element. And as we saw from the picture, we represent those atoms with symbols, chemical symbols. So for instance, if we looked at the element hydrogen, hydrogen has the symbol H, and oxygen has the element O. And we're probably all pretty familiar with the compound water, which has the symbol H2O, meaning that we have two hydrogens combined with one oxygen. We need to get a little more comfortable working with those symbols and the vocabulary that's associated with chemistry in order to further our study with biology. So that's going to be our goal over the next week or two, is to try and understand the chemistry better so that we're going to be able to apply that to the concepts of biology that we'll encounter.